What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 39 of the Block Exploring podcast. With me, as always, is Tommy. Later in this episode, we're going to talk to you about, everything that happened in the market, but also NFT ownership on the basis of corporate factors, DAO ownership, Adidas entering the Metaverse. So let's get into it. Of course, this is not financial advice, and let's hop into the state of the market. Now, I think we've overall seen a very big recovery trend the past 7 days. You can see that the market cap has increased significantly and recovered back to the previous times. If you look at it from a 30-day perspective, we're getting there slowly but surely, and confidence is being built in the market. A lot of smaller cap projects are also regaining liquidity, which is a nice thing to see overall. It means that the more risky investments are being made again. Bitcoin has been fairly stable. It's been trading sideways, but that's to be expected. And with that being said, overall, fairly neutral, slightly bullish market. Now, let's hop into it. This week, Adidas entered the Metaverse with the Bored Ape Yacht Club Ethereum NFT. Tell me, what do you think about this?
I think this is huge, and it's I think everyone in the space, a lot of people in the space also agree, because I mean Adidas is a huge multinational corporation with huge cachet, huge cultural cachet, and a wide reach. So for a company to be working with a project like Bored Ape Yacht Club and be interested in entering the metaverse as such is extremely bullish. And it's just one movement in a trend that we've been seeing of like corporations getting into the metaverse, seeing how they can make use of NFTs, and other products, that or services that are on the blockchain. And it's very interesting to see how they are visualizing and materializing their use of Web3 tools. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And I also really like how Adidas, out of a lot of these companies, doesn't try to own the platform. They try to enter the metaverse, right? They try to be a part of trying to be a part of the solution instead of like owning the entire platform the way Facebook has done it or is trying to do it. And I think we see a lot of companies that are, I don't know, a bit more progressive with their way of thinking, a bit more future oriented, start adopting these NFTs or even ENS domains. I know that what is it? Budweiser has beer.eth,
which is sick. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you see this, and it's nice to see corporations starting to adopt to NFTs, because in a few episodes ago, you and I talked about how mass adoption tends to go, what is an iPhone moment, all that stuff. And we discussed more specifically that it tends to go in a way where corporations start adopting to a certain standard, then governments are forced to adopt to that certain standard because the corporations, they pay the most tax, etc., etc. They have the biggest swing when it comes to governmental change because all of the lobbyists, etc. And then from the government down, quite often this mass adoption starts to happen, and people start using, for instance, mobile phones. Whenever governmental, stuff became available online, mobile phones became a lot more relevant as well. We see this kind of stuff also happen, I think, with crypto and with NFTs, and seeing these companies actively push this metaverse agenda. I mean, I think everyone in crypto wants a metaverse, right? Sure. They wants more utility to crypto, etc.
I feel like some Bitcoiners couldn't care less about a metaverse, but I think you're right. The vast majority of people, are interested in this concept, but they don't know how to define it. No one knows. No one has a single definition, but they want it. They're like, take my money. I want it. But I think what you alluded to earlier was when you were discussing how Adidas came into the metaverse as opposed to try to own it. I think we see quite a distinct reaction between those who try to own the metaverse and try to co-opt it to what they're doing and trying to compete with other people, as opposed to people and projects or institutions that come in who are trying to collaborate, who are aware of, the culture that's being built around these, DeFi, NFTs, crypto as a whole, blockchain as a whole. I think those that come in and look to, be a part of what's going on and build upon what's going on, based upon these principles of trustlessness, adding value, permissionless, all the decentralization, all these beautiful things, ownership, all these beautiful things that blockchain can enable. Those companies, corporations, and celebrities who can leverage those principles and create projects and support things that are leveraging those principles, I think those will do best. Because I think what you see is that like things like Metaverse, where they try to own and co-opt the Metaverse, get a very negative reaction. Celebrities who bought their first NFT and then the next week they have their cash grab NFT
Yeah,
project, those get really horrible reactions. But something like this, I feel like Bored Ape didn't come to Adidas. Adidas came to Bored Ape. That's how it's
yeah,
the same with Timbaland and the music Warner Music Group coming to Bored Ape and collaborating with them, working with other apes, and even looking for apes who have bars to come rap on different songs.
yeah.
So that's sick, and it's this type of organic, authentic, genuine crypto principles backed pursuits. I think those will be winners in the long term.
I agree. I also think that it's very interesting to see the way that these companies go about it, because the way we see Adidas do it is really collaborate with NFT communities, and the most rooted NFT community, I would say, or like the largest, most active, most like versatile community is kind of Bored Ape Yacht Club at this point, because I think it's like a pioneering NFT
Yeah, I
community.
think they might overtake. Like punks seem to be number one, like culturally in NFTs, but I mean, not seems, they are by far number one. But Bored Ape Yacht Club is catching up so
Yeah,
quick. But sorry to
no, no, no,
interrupt.
it's
Yeah.
a good point. And what I'm seeing here is, well, it mainly comes from the perspective of how I see Budweiser approach this. Is
Hmm.
they dibsed the domain beer.eth,
Yeah.
right? They're trying to
Hmm.
be as early as they can humanly be
Hmm.
before other brands get into it. So
Yep.
I feel like they see more opportunity in being a very early adopter, getting a dominant
Hmm.
position early, getting rooted,
Yeah.
being acknowledged as a part of the crypto
Hmm.
community, because it's very
Yep.
community oriented, and show that they're already there during
Hmm.
ground zero, the
Hmm.
very beginnings, the
Yeah.
humble beginnings, and that they actively try to make the space better and bigger, instead of
Hmm.
only coming in whenever there's proven demand. The
Exactly.
investment alpha has been
Hmm.
calculated out all nicely,
Hmm.
and all that. And I think that is the main goal. Like, you don't Budweiser, it would be logical for Budweiser to buy Budweiser.eth, right? Because they're
Sure.
Budweiser. But
Yeah.
no, they buy beer.eth because they want to be
Exactly.
the beer company. It's that
Hmm.
simple.
Yep. That's such a exact. I mean, I think that's such an interesting take. Especially with things like ENS names. It's such a low
Hmm.
barrier to entry to the metaverse for a corporation to get an ENS
Yeah,
domain. But that's very high upside. Like if we all think blockchain is like will be like the new internet plus internet of awesomeness. Like having a domain in web 2 is already so valuable. Having that .com, having that name, like your corporation.com, is very valuable in web 2. Having an ENS name is going to be as valuable, and any namespace in blockchain is going to be extremely valuable. Because web 3 builds upon web 2 by having native money assets that's where a huge amount of value comes from. And if you have beer.eth on this new internet, you are what is associated with the term beer. That's massive. That's incredible upside for like what, a couple $100 on for an ENS name.
exactly. And this
Yeah.
plays into the ownership aspect of it. So they
Hmm.
own the domain. Or, well, with ENS, you kind of subscribe to the domain, right? You buy
Well,
it for a
yeah,
certain term, but it
but you have rights to you have the sole
yeah,
right to renew that,
exactly,
which is yeah,
which is which is perfect. And I think that links closely to,
exactly.
well, I mean, we see a overall metaversification trend, right? And a lot of this discussion of ownership really links to digital assets. But what I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to move the discussion to more is ownership of physical assets, but coming from
Yeah.
like this metaverse trend. So
Mm-hmm.
what we're seeing now, and recently we saw Constitution DAO trying to
Mm-hmm.
buy this physical constitution, the U.S. Constitution, and they unfortunately failed.
Yeah.
And now we saw another project that was trying to buy the June Bible, and I think I don't know exactly what the June Bible is, but it's like a screenplay type of thing, and there's a lot of content on world building, all that stuff, and it's like one of the earliest scripts. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is a physical
Mm-hmm.
good, and
Yeah.
I think maybe the contract lawyer in me or contract legal person in me uh, thought immediately, how do you own a physical good if everyone is functioning in a digital space? Ownership is very distributed and no one has, well, title or access to the uh, to the physical good. So I was wondering, what is
Mm-hmm.
your take on that? Like, how can this move between like this metaverse ownership affect physical goods? Because I can see a lot of potential. Like, let's say you
Mm-hmm.
and 10,000 other homies that decide to buy up a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
properties, right? Who owns
Yeah.
it? Who gets the exploitation rights? All that stuff.
Right.
I want to think about that because I think it will be a
Mm-hmm.
trend, and I will think it will be good for equity and kind of
Mm-hmm.
countering all these
Mm-hmm.
global giants.
Mm-hmm.
So let me know, what do you think?
So like that, I think that example you just gave is very good example to parlay into how I imagine this kind of ownership playing out in future. So like a couple of dudes and gals and people get together and buy a couple of properties. They're probably starting an
Mm-hmm.
LLC, a holdings company, to and they all own a bit of this company, right? So then that company is the holder of these assets, and this company can have what they can have a bank vault to hold other stuff in. They can have a bank account and all these types of things. So like I really believe that DAOs can. I mean, DAOs is a very broad term. It can be they are both just a group of people working on stuff, but they can also be the company of the future, the decentralized companies of the future, right? And if we're taking, if we're looking at projects that are trying to be like, have physical
Mm-hmm.
ownership of things and own physical things, we need to start. I mean, the legal system needs to catch up
Absolutely.
to where DAOs are moving, right? Because I mean, Wyoming, you can go, you can register your DAO as an LLC in Wyoming, and then in that case, it's very straightforward how this physical ownership plays out, where you're now a corporation, like not just on the blockchain, but now you're in the real meat space, the real
Mm-hmm.
world. You're connected to the nation state, and that affords you different things. You can start a bank account, you can start a vault, you can do all kinds of things. But what's the beauty of this DAO is that the decisions can be, had in a decentralized way, can be made in a decentralized
Yeah.
way. And that, yeah, that's one thesis I have of where this could go,
Mm-hmm.
where how we could take this off. But I think DAOs are such a broad concept, and like could literally just be a bunch of people.
Yeah.
They can just decide how they want to do it.
But what I was thinking whenever I heard about this news, and I think about this June Bible, it's based on the movie
Yeah.
June. What I think is, okay, it's a physical good. You buy it as
Yeah.
a DAO, you buy it all together. Doesn't that
Yeah.
give everyone like a right to use it, a right to own it? I feel like
Mm-hmm.
in a way, everyone is standing around the Bible in a circle, all
Mm-hmm.
with equal distance, but none of them are actually
Yeah.
able to, or all of them are able
Yeah.
to. And then I think there's like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
issues. Like, do they
Sure.
access the Bible if they want to, and because they have like a token of the DAO or something, they have access to it? But then you told me something about tiered ownership or tiered DAO ownership. That you have like
Yeah.
different levels within a DAO,
Mm-hmm.
which just depends on the amount that you contribute to it. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like your token holdings, all that stuff. There can be a bunch of factors that contribute to this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing they did it the same way. So there will probably be very large parties who will have like almost
Yeah.
like visitation rights to this Bible, who can
Mm-hmm.
actually interact with it, and other people who just have a stake in this kind of fractionalized ownership of the DAO. That's what
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Let me know what you think.
Yeah. I mean, there's just different ways that people can go about this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like as you described, like there's different ways that DAOs can incorporate tokens into their governance, and there's delegated token voting that exists now, and you have people who get these tokens delegated to them. Because say if you have one token, your voting power is obviously not going to make a big difference. But if someone's clearly active and clearly has the time to take part in the governance of this DAO, you can delegate your tokens to them, and that person obviously has a much bigger say than that one individual now. Or in the case of, like, for example, Kraus House DAO, this is a DAO that's working to buy, part of a basketball team, or buy a basketball team, and they'll decentrally own it. They have various NFTs that you can buy into. There's a tiered level of NFTs. Like, obviously, top tier would allow you different rights as opposed to all the way down the board. But being a token owner automatically makes you a owner of this, what the asset they're gonna pres- to buy, which is in this case is a basketball team. But I what I want to say is that, like, when you're buying something, it's very important to understand the terms of purchase, or the terms of use, or the terms of anything, right? Like, you should not, I mean, not financial advice, but like, or maybe this is good advice. You should not buy stuff that you don't understand, like, your rights to ownership, use, and all these things, right? Like, if that's all laid out and clear, right? There's nothing wrong with, like, okay, say you buy a fractionalized ownership of a house, right, as in the form of an NFT, and you receive like rent every month as a result, proportional share of rent as a result of that. But you're not able to live in the house. That's totally fine. It's a different vehicle for investment. Like, as long as the terms were laid out, like, you knew you could not go live there, and you made this purchase with that understanding, right? So I think that's totally fine. It's just, I think there's an issue where it's not clear. It's not clear how the governance of this works. It's not clear your use of that. And I think, that lack of clarity will lead to issues.
Exactly.
And if
And I think that kind of, with that said, that kind of wraps up the episode. Always know your rights, right? And the more you enter the metaverse, the more you interact with DAOs, the more intensely you interact with DAOs, the more you will expand on your rights usually. So make sure you join a good DAO. If you guys feel inspired to join a DAO, make sure you join a DAO that really outlines your rights as a DAO member clearly, instead of just kind of profiting off of your free labor or whatever. And with that being said, enter the metaverse with us. See us next time on the episode. Tune in, subscribe, and we'll see you next Thursday. Peace.
Awesome. Take it easy.